Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we're doing something really fun. We're making some interactive type cards, but you might be surprised to find that these aren't actually made out of leather. They are made out of paper, and we're going to talk about the two different types of leather that we can create. One of them kind of like a more smooth, worn look, and one of them like the stamped or tooled leather. But I will be using these for Father's Day this weekend. Added bonus, they double as gift card holders. So, or cash, depending upon what you're interested in. So I'm doing the Lovely Layers wallet and the tooled leather 3D embossing folder. I've also pulled out my distress spray stains. I'm doing a black version and a brown version. You can do whatever color works for you. This is Canson Monteval watercolor paper, and I have cut it down the middle, which for me, mine is a 9 by 12, so it's 4.5 by 12. And then I just have an extra box here that I'm using to protect my surface from the overspray. And I'm using, for the brown, antique linen, brushed corduroy, and walnut stain. And you can see I'm putting down a considerable amount of spray here. And right now we're not really looking like leather. The trick is this handy dandy little paper towel. So I'm going to kind of ball it up, and I am going to blot up some of that. I don't want to get rid of all of the texture. And I'm also putting down new textures with the paper towel. And when you've soaked up so much, then you can go back in. You don't want to over blot it at this stage, and you don't want to smooth anything out. That's going to kind of do it on its own. The watercolor paper is meant to allow that moisture to sit on the surface. So just move it off to the side. And then while we do that, I am going to do the black version. This is like a warmer black. So I used frayed burlap, hickory smoke, and black soot. It kind of looks like a big old mess right now, but just hang tight, because once the colors start mixing, it will look okay, I promise. And again, you could do this with any color you wanted. I chose two neutrals because the men in my life are a little bit more like classic kind of style. And so I thought that these would be good ones to give. And they're kind of fun. You know, it's just something different. Did you see how I oversprayed my box there? So then the same thing, I'm going to go in with that paper towel. I'm going to blot up some of that excess ink. We need a considerable amount down because the blotting is creating those different pockets of color, which is giving us different layers of color. So some's more intense, some is lighter, but again, we don't want to over blot at this point. We just want to kind of set it to the side and let it do its thing. I did not wait a ton of time, but you can already see here that there is a pretty big difference between where we left them off. I pretty much just like cleaned up my area and the box, and then I brought them back. And again, I'm going in now with a clean paper towel, and I'm kind of bunching it up again. And this is going to help give me kind of that distressed or cracked leather look that we typically tend to see in things that are kind of like well worn, well loved. And you can do this for any color. I'm going to leave the brown one like this. We are going to add a little bit of extra detail later, but I'm going to turn the black one into the stamped or tooled leather, and that will be a little bit further down in the video, so hang tight. For the rest of the wallet pieces, I am cutting the zipper, the zipper pull, and the little rivets for the wallet. For the brown, out of gold. For the black, out of like a brushed silver. You don't have to use a mirrored cardstock, you know, to get that kind of metallic look. And then I'm cutting the pocket, the backing piece for the zipper, and then the outside clasp out of dark brown and dark gray. The open kind of pocket, that's the one where we're going to put the gift card, and the top of the pocket that goes on the left hand side, I'm cutting out of craft and a lighter gray. And then for the actual wallet, the outside of the wallet, that's what we're going to use, the one that we sprayed. Now, something to note, the die is longer than even my extended plates. So I'm going to go in, and it's hanging off the edge, okay? So I'm going to die cut this right through there. And then once I pull it all the way through, you can see I'm kind of like trying to figure out the best way to do this because this is my first one. So I started to like maybe turn it, and then I was like, no, that's not going to be the best course of action. So what I ended up doing was just scooting it down on the I was going to say cutting board, but then on the cutting plate. And then I did not tape these. I did not tape these because I was not 100% sure that my watercolor paper was dry and I didn't want to tear my leather. So I chose not to tape them. I just made sure that they were lined up in those grooves that were already cut. And then just to be extra conservative, I did not run it all the way through. I only ran it through the area that I still needed to be cut. For the black one, I did the same thing, just in reverse. So I cut this portion first with the like outside clasp. You can see it's hanging off the end there. And then I'm just going to scoot it right on down the cutting surface area. And then I like to hold the plates in place while it's going through, so it's not bumping all around and it doesn't like jump when it goes through. And that worked really well for me. Then I can go through and cut out all the rest of my pieces parts, my pockets and my metallic accessories. I'll do that for all of the parts that you saw. And then we will move on to how we're going to add that stamped texture. So I chose to do a embossing folder. Honeybee did this tooled leather embossing folder, and like it made you know what I mean? That was the intention, was for it to mimic tooled leather. So that's the one that I chose. But you could use a different embossing folder. And it doesn't have to be 3D either. You could use just a 2D embossing folder. You could also probably use a stencil. You can do a little bit of embossing with a stencil. I have another video on that somewhere. I'll try to find it to link it at the end. But those are, your options. Then from there, we're going to just do a little bit of inking to add to the detail. So here's the wallet the way it looks right now. For both of them, the black one's going to be the only one that gets the tool detail. And then here you can see there's a seam in the middle where the wallet folds. So I am going to line up what's ultimately going to be the back of my wallet. I'm going to line that up so that it scoots all the way down to that middle seam. And then I do like to tape mine in place just to make sure, again, it isn't bumping and jumping around. For me, for my sandwich, because I have a Spellbinders Platinum 6, it's an A plate, my embossing folder with my paper, and then my D as in David plate. And then you can see it adds that nice little extra. I will flip it back around. Again, line it up where that seam is. You don't want to overlap the patterns because you'll smush it. So then it won't be raised. It won't feel, it won't be like stamped. So then I'm going to run this back through, and then the whole wallet is done and has that texture added to it. You can leave it like this, or we can do some extra things to kind of bring it to life, which you'll see shortly. Here is where I am cutting out the other piece, the inside piece for each one. I did gray for the black, and I did, the dark gray, and then the dark brown for the brown one. That way they will have an inside and an outside, because right now the back of this wallet is just white paper. So here, if you want it to be really subtle, you can go in. I'm doing the hickory smoke. I'm putting that ink kind of all over. This is sped up. I do not ink blend this fast. So I'm just adding that over top, and you can see it start to pop. It really, really comes to life when you put that black soot over it. But then even in addition to that, I want the pattern to pop, but I also still want that worn leather look. So I'm not being careful to make sure that every place has the same amount of coverage. Some of the places I'm adding more black, some of the places I'm leaving a little bit less saturated. And then in order to really make it pop, I'm going to flip that ink pad over and I'm going to rub it in circles right on top of the pattern that I've embossed. And that's really going to make it pop forward so that you can see all of that beautiful detail. while I have my inks out, I am going to add a little bit of dimension to my pockets and things because I still want them to look, even though it's on the inside, I still want them to look like they have that kind of that leather feel and they have a little bit of dimension. It's not just flat cardstock. The goal is to transform it so that when you give it to your recipient, there's that kind of like, oh, wow, you made this. I can't believe it's paper, kind of moment. And then for the lighter gray, I did use the hickory smoke. You can go for the first one. I just really stuck to the hickory smoke. I didn't add too much extra dimension with the black because it is a stronger color. For the brown, I am going to do both of them. So if you want it to be a little bit more distressed, you can use the darker color. Here we have to blend the pockets in far enough that we're adding the dimension to the actual part we're going to see, because the outside edges are actually the flaps that are going to be closed. So in order to get that kind of leather distressed, well-loved look onto our cardstock pockets, we want to be less intentional about our coverage. So I'm going to go in with my brushed corduroy. And isn't that great that like the whole distress line matches? So I did my sprays and then I just went back and pulled out my inks. So I sprayed with antique linen, brushed corduroy, and walnut stain, and then I inked with brushed corduroy and walnut stain because everything's matchy-matchy, and that makes my heart happy. So here, when I have the smaller brush, I am not like tapping off. I'm going directly to paper. It's going to make it more splotchy, but that splotchiness is what is going to make it more realistic. And then I did add just a little bit of ink blending to the wallet, again, just to kind of play up that distressed look. I added darker color where like the seams are, where the corners would meet. There are some random spots that I just add a little bit more darkness. I try not to be too crazy, and I think it's probably easy to get a little carried away with it, but I tried not to be wild. I just wanted to add enough that it was going to have that realistic feel, and truly I think that we achieved that. So here, this is the actual gift card holder section. This is going to go into my brown wallet. So I did cut that out and do the extra inking on top of it. And then now we're going to put together the hardware. So this is pretty simple because of the way Honeybee's Lovely Layers are designed. You can kind of see the embossed areas, like where the little rivets should go. The zipper fits perfectly down the center of this one, if I could get it glued on there. And so this part was really easy to put together. If you have any, if you have purchased this, then you should have the Lovely Layers guide. If you don't have it, you can always find it on their website. I definitely had mine pulled up just so I could follow along. I was a little apprehensive when I was first putting it together because it seemed like there was a lot of moving pieces, but it actually came together really easy, and that's saying a lot for somebody who does not like little tiny parts of dies. So we are actually hosting Father's Day. We typically do. We just typically host it on Saturday because we are a blended family. So my oldest goes to his dad's on Father's Day. So we typically celebrate like my dad, Eric's dad, Eric, on Saturday. So that way we have Nathan here for the whole thing. Oh, here, the gold was feeling just like a little bit flat. And so in order to make some separation in between like the zipper pull, I did add just a little bit of brown with an alcohol ink marker. Something a lot of people don't realize, that alcohol inks will literally color anything. I just recently did a video where I used alcohol inks to make alcohol drinks, and so they work really well. Copics, even though they are alcohol markers, they will color non-porous surfaces because of the alcohol ink. Okay, so quickly putting this together. So everything does have like the sections it's not pre-folded. It's embossed, like the embossed lines, so that you know where to fold it at. Because we embossed that piece and we sprayed it with moisture, it bent really, really easily. And so I didn't need to go in with my bone folder to like push it down. Plus it would have pushed down that embossed pattern, that stamped leather look we're going for. So I didn't want to do that. But for the inside, I actually scored it wrong the first time. I scored it like the regular wallet, and I wanted that stitching detail that's embossed in there to be on the inside as well. So I really should have done it backwards. So you want to fold it the opposite way that it will go, and then use your bone folder to really reinforce that fold. Same thing with the little piece right there, and then you'll glue them together. I chose to do a combination of dry adhesive and wet adhesive, because the wet adhesive does give me a little bit of wiggle room, where the dry adhesive is going to be a lot more sturdy long term, since this is like an interactive type card. But everything came together really easily. So anyway, so normally we do it on Saturday. However, my son is out of town with his dad on their family vacation. So I have not seen him now. Since when? Since last Friday. I haven't seen him since last Friday. It's Thursday, so it's almost been a full week. And so traditionally when they go on vacation, the day he comes home, it doesn't matter what time it is, because I don't care. I go pick him up so that I can see him, because I miss him, because I haven't seen him. And so normally I go pick him up, and they will get home on Saturday. I pick him up, and then he stays with me on Sunday. And then Monday we just kind of, go back to our normal regular routine, but just so that way I can see him when he first comes home. However, Sunday is Father's Day. So we had to switch things up a little bit, since Saturday he's going to be traveling most of the day. So here, for this portion of it, I folded it very gently with my hands, and then I went back in and reinforced the fold with the bone folder. I cannot express this enough. This is incredibly important for ease of assembly. If you don't want to have to pull your hair out trying to line up glue and adhesive with these pockets, please do the bone folder. And the reason I'm telling you that is because I got sidetracked when I did the brown one, because what was I doing? I think I was talking to my daughter, or maybe my sister. But anyway, so when I was talking to them, I did not do it. And then I went to glue it down, and I was fighting with it. So with wet glue on it, I had to go back in and reinforce my bone folder. So don't be like me. Just do it before. So then when you're putting these together, you only want to put the adhesive on the flap part. And then that keeps the pocket open for you to be able to tuck in a gift card or some money or a little note. I think these wallets would be absolutely adorable for like graduation. I think they'd be really cute for like your kid maybe just gets their driver's license, and you could what is it called? I can't remember. The tagged accessories that Honeybee has. It has like a little key on there. So you could do the little wallet and the little key, maybe tuck a little gas card in there, tuck a little money in for graduation. I just think they're really adorable, and I can see using them for lots of things. I'm going to be using them for Father's Day. But I think it was Brandon from the design team did it. He paired it with the purse. So we did like a matching wallet purse moment, and that was absolutely adorable. So there's a lot of options with this particular one. But I thought it would be fun, because you guys know I do love a good transformation, to do the leather. So here, again, you just want to adhere the flap portion, and then you will have like, you can use this to put the gift card in. You can use it. I actually, on the second one, I ended up putting in some acetate. You'll see that shortly. And I really, like, my dad, when we were younger, and I know that it's not as common now, but he still does it even with my kids. Like my kids get, well, not Caitlin, but my oldest one gets school pictures, and he still wants the wallet, and he still puts them in his wallet. And I thought, well, wouldn't that be cute for like Father's Day to put in like a picture of him and the kids, or something like that, in the little wallet underneath the acetate, which I think would be just precious. So here, what I did was I used the little hexagon foams, but I actually needed to stack more than what I did. So just keep that in mind, because you want to be able to pull that little clasp portion out kind of freely. So I ended up stacking a couple of those little hexagons to make it easier. I think I did 3. So just something to note here, this is the gift card section of it. I did put that down, and then you'll do like that pocket right over top of it, which is when I decided that I was going to do the acetate. You'll see that here in a minute. So anywho, so we're splitting him for Father's Day. That's the game plan. Whereas before, like normally I would just have him on Saturday. So it is going to be a little bit different, but as long as everybody gets to celebrate together, I don't really care. We're very fortunate that we have a very amicable relationship, and everything, is basically for the betterment of our child. So here I just held, this was like a spare piece of acetate I had in my scrap pile. I just held it up there and kind of, trimmed it. No, you're not going to see the whole thing because it's going to be on the inside. And then I used some very thin adhesive to go around the entirety of the edge on the front side. So then that way, when I slid it in there, then I could press that down around the edges, and that acetate would sit right there. And then this is both of them. So this is the stamped leather here, and then like you could put your little sentiment in there. I haven't decided who's going to who yet, so I haven't committed. And then this one you could do. I have the little gift card in there behind the little acetate window. I think they're adorable. I hope that this inspires you to maybe create some leather of your own. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I always appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.